Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Helliar program. I'm Andrew Gaze. This attractive man next to me is Leonard Copeland. And, Copes, we have got a lot to dissect today. The NBA playoffs are going to new levels in some of the games we've seen, some of the shooting performances, close games, controversy, the whole box and dice. We're going to get into that. And also, we are going to new levels of guests. The very famous, the very funny Peter Helliar. He is going to join us on the program. Can you?
Hey, you know what? He's a basketball fan too. That's what surprised me about him. He's a good dude. He's a good guy.
Yes, we see him every night on the project on Channel 10, but he's just said, "Project, hit pause. I need to talk to Copeland and Gaze on this Helliar program that I'm hearing so much about."
How funny was he? He's such a funny guy.
Yes, we caught up with him a couple of days ago, and we're going to show you that a bit of our interview. If you want to see the whole interview, there's a link on the YouTube that you can click on. Check out the whole interview because he is an extraordinary, funny man. But, Copes, just need to get back to what's going on in the NBA. And last week we saw the pause, we saw a bit of a boycott, and how incredible is it that when you're in the NBA and Chris Paul, the president of the Players Association, LeBron James, that they have reached a level of status where they can pick up a phone and speak to people like Barack Obama to guide them through this process that they're going through. So it's been fantastic that they've been able to resolve some of their issues with the Black Lives Matter, and they're wanting to make a statement and not just fill the world with rhetoric and protest, but to have something really tangible and active in the way in which they can help out the cause. And it's great that they've been able to move forward, and we've seen some cracking games.
You got to give Adam Silver. I said this last time. You got to give Adam Silver some kudos too, because not all commissioners would allow this. He's doing the right thing. He's got the support of his players, and the players love him. And like you said, for them to reach out to Barack Obama and even Michael Jordan, they talked to Michael Jordan as well. And Michael Jordan's sort of the go-between for the NBA players and the owner, so they can sit down and negotiate the things that they want.
Well, that's right, Copes. And Jamal Murray, if you want to see the impact that this Black Lives Matter is having on the players, just an incredible series against the Utah Jazz. And Jamal Murray, after Game 6, they were down 3-1, the Denver Nuggets, and they got this win in one of the all-time great shooting displays. Jamal Murray, Donovan Mitchell, going backwards and forwards.
They couldn't miss. 9 threes apiece they made. They made 9 threes apiece.
They both had 50, and I can't remember off the top of my head a better individual duel within the games, within the teams.
Yep.
That going at it, and just the extraordinary three-point shooting and the quality of that game. But when you look at the whole Black Lives Matter movement, I think Jamal Murray's performance at the end of the game, where the
interview afterwards
sort of hit him, and it was that special. It was almost better, I think, than his actual performance on the floor. Coach, have a listen to Jamal Murray straight after the game.
You got to win to win. He shoots me a lot. With all the shoots me a lot.
Take a deep breath, Jamal. You were outstanding tonight. We understand that these are tough times. Jamal, what are you thinking about right now?
I just want to win. And in life, you find things that hold value to you, and things to fight for. And we found something worth fighting for as an NBA, as a collective unit. And I use these shoes as a symbol to me to keep fighting all around the world. So I can say they give me a lot of power to keep fighting, and we want to win. I show my emotion, it comes out. So
you have a picture of George Floyd on your right shoe here. You got Breonna Taylor. Why has this been so personal for you, Jamal?
because it's not just in America. It happens everywhere. And for us to come together, the NBA, and it doesn't take one meeting. It takes a couple meetings, a few meetings. It takes phone calls. It takes persistence. It's not gonna take one night. And we've been trying to fight for 400 years. But these shoes give me life. Even though these people are gone, they give me life. They help me find strength to keep fighting this world. That's what I'm gonna keep doing.
Now, Coach, you see it, the emotion.
He didn't say a lot. It was the way what he said, and how he performed, and I'll put all that together.
Yeah.
And I got goosebumps, Drew. I got goosebumps.
It is.
Yeah.
More power to him. It was great stuff. But Coach, when you think of that series, not too many teams have come back from 3-1 down. It was a first round game. I think a lot of people had Denver as the favourites going into that series. But they had to do it the hard way, and some amazing performance. Jokic throughout was the rock, and in that game 7, it was Jokic that really led from the front, and rebounding points. He was fantastic.
Ingles against Torrey Craig, 2 ex-NBL players. How good does that feel? To be an ex-NBA player, NBL player, now playing in the big leagues. It was fantastic.
And the difference between pleasure and pain, Coach, if you saw that last play and they're up by 2, they get an interception and they're on a transition with, 10 or so seconds remaining. And it's one of those dodgy ones because you've got a 3-on-1 and you think, do I just pull it out? But then they're going to foul me, and then we've got to make free throws. Or do I go in and make a layup? And they give it to Torrey Craig. And
was it Grant? I thought they gave it to Grant, and he missed the layup. Was that the one?
Torrey Craig missed the layup.
Oh, was that Torrey Craig? I thought it was Grant. I'm sorry.
Torrey Craig missed the layup, and you're thinking they go down, and fortunately for Denver, they missed the 3-point field goal attempt.
He had a good look, too. He had a very good look at it, too. A very good look, yeah.
The difference between the joy and ecstasy of winning and the heartbreak of losing.
The thrill of victory and the agony of defeat.
And if you look at that shot by Mike Conley, Copes,
it looked good.
3/4 of the ball is below the rim, and somehow or other it found a way to fall out. What a series, and it was you just wanted more games.
You know what it reminded me of? Vlahoff when he took that shot against us in '93. It reminded me of that. Went in the rim, went around, and dropped out.
Yeah,
what a great series to watch. A great series to watch.
Yeah, but he makes that shot, and all of a sudden, Torrey Craig looks like the villain. And what's your view? In that situation, do you pull it out and try and stall it? But you're going to get fouled and have to go.
I'm taking that layup because 9 times out of 10, he makes that layup. Yes. 9 times out of 10, he makes that layup. So, you just play basketball. It is what it is. You try to you pull it out and get fouled, and the pressure making those free throws at the end of the game is not easy.
Well, we're already, you're right. And it was, how about the sportsmanship that was shown after it by Jamal Murray coming up to Donovan Mitchell and embracing. And that's what it's all about. We get caught up in a lot of the brouhaha that goes on and the trash talking and all those things that go on when your competitive juices are flowing. But how quickly and how classy it was, one for Jamal Murray in that joy of victory to still have some compassion for an incredible series by Donovan Mitchell. It was great to see. And Copes.
You know what I think about those series, though, Drewy? When the first series, when they play those series that tough, it gives them ammunition to play harder it gives them ammunition to play harder in the championship games. So when you have a tough series that first round, those teams always come out better for it in the championship games.
For sure. And as we look now, as we see the Rockets Thunder going down to the wire, a 7th game, and Copes, we touched on it a few weeks ago, and some of the officiating.
I know what you're going to say.
Some of the officiating in these games, it's very hard to predict. And we saw the end of that Rockets Thunder game, Game 7, and the block shot, and did he have a timeout? Didn't he have a timeout? Then they're trying to inbounds it, and they find a foul on James Harden on Chris Paul, and Gallinari misses the free throw, and somehow or other, the Houston Rockets, and I get a sense that not a lot of people are barracking for the Houston Rockets.
Well, they're high-money players. They're expected to win. People hate the way they play. While Harding standing around dribbling the ball through his legs 6 or 7 times and then pulling up for 3. They don't have a big man, so they're playing small ball. So a lot of people don't appreciate the way they play. You know, it's not the way the NBA teams were built. And people wanted them to lose. It is what it is.
And Russell Westbrook is the one that if I'm a Houston fan that I'm a little concerned. Now, I know he had a bit of a spell because he had some injuries and he's got to work his way back into it. But in both Game 6 and even in Game 7, down the stretch, he's taken matters into his own hands, tried to get to the rim or shot an air ball in Game 6, had some big plays that he's come up short in. That it would be a concern for Houston because without Russell Westbrook being the MVP Russell Westbrook that he was a couple of seasons ago, it's hard to see them advancing.
Well, the best thing about Houston is they shoot the ball extremely well. Russell gives him another look because he attacks the rim and he shoots 2-pointers, something most teams don't do anymore. But like you're right, he's not the same Westbrook. But I reckon if you give him a couple of games, he'll get going because he plays with the most energy I've ever seen. So you get a guy like that playing hard every night, it's only going to help him.
Well, in this next round, Copes, they got to pull on their big boy panties because they're going to have a whole different assignment when it comes to the Los Angeles Lakers. And that small ball is going to be tested because the Lakers can go big. LeBron James running the point a lot of the time. Anthony Davis down low. And they've got so many different scoring weapons now for the Lakers that it's going to test them. Now, clearly at the other end of the floor, who's Anthony Davis? He's going to have to get out and chase guys on the perimeter. But it's hard to see what we saw from the Rockets in the first round getting past the Lakers.
Well, you're right. I still think the Lakers have been sitting around waiting on this series to finish. So that gives the Rockets the edge in that first game. Now, like we just saw in the OKC game, anybody can beat anybody in these playoffs. There's really no home court advantage. You're playing on the same court. So never underestimate the Houston Rockets, although they play – although they're going to play the Lakers, and the Lakers are bigger, you still got to guard the upper floor line.
You do. But you've got Dwight Howard in there. You've got JaVale McGee. And it might force, and even Markieff Morris coming off the bench. You know, those types of players that just seem like, from the naked eye, they're going to have a size advantage, and trying to defend those guys at the other end of the floor is going to be tough for the Houston Rockets. So. They're going to be have to shooting at a really good clip.
That's right. If Houston get hot, the Lakers could be in trouble.
And Copes, as we think ahead to the second round and what we've seen going on already, the Miami Heat and the Toronto Raptors. A lot of people thought that they were the ones that would be going to come out of the East. Well, they're going to have to really do some heavy lifting because both have dug themselves a hole. They're down 0-2, and in particular, the Milwaukee Bucks, the Miami Heat, I'm not trying to pump my own tires up, Coach, but we did mention this. And you go back to the tape when the playoffs start. They were my pick to be the surprise packet, and they are getting it done at both ends of the floor, the Miami Heat.
Jimmy Butler's on a mission. I mean, he's one of those players that can play both ends of the floor. But what people don't understand is they have a championship coach who's been there for a very long time, who has 2 championship rings. Now, the way he plays defense, his schemes, is the old Pat Riley schemes. We're going to play a zone on this team. We're going to double on this guy. So those are the characteristics I see from the Miami Heat, and that's why Miami Heat are up 2-0 right now.
And what they do, Coach, is they get it done by committee. Now, yes, in Game 1 of this series, Jimmy Butler, spectacular, dropped 40. He was and big time in the crisis. But it's you look at their team and Goran Dragic doing some great things. Duncan Robinson, as he's moved throughout the course of the season, what a story it is with Duncan Robinson. Didn't get any offers, first division offers coming out of high school, went to a Division III school, got picked up by Michigan, did not get drafted. No one wanted him. and found his way just through hard work into the
can shoot the rock. He can really shoot the rock. You know that?
him.
How tall is he? 6'7", 6'8"?
Yeah, 6'7", 6'8", and just a 3-point threat. And no, it hasn't been as great in the playoffs as he was throughout the course of the regular season. But now starting on a team that's contending for a title. Tyler Hero, what a pickup as a rookie. Andre Iguodala providing that bench strength.
Yep.
They get it done by committee as compared to the Bucks, who have looked a bit discombobulated from time to time on the offensive end. And really, this system. The Miami Heat seemed a little bit more system-driven than the Bucks do, and that system is getting it done.
Do you think the zone defense is bothering Milwaukee? You think that's zone defense?
I think it's the way in which they mix it up. They keep throwing different things at it. Giannis Antetokounmpo, he's a superstar. Let's make no mistake about it. But this is a really big test for him. And Chris Middleton has been up and down with his shot. I don't know, Copes, if they're going to get through the Miami Heat. I've put them right now to say that, yeah, it's not beyond them. You look at the regular season; they were fantastic. But Copes, do you see the Bucks getting up past the Miami Heat?
I don't know. The rumor is if they don't get past Miami, the Greek Freak is going elsewhere. Now, has nothing to do with the team, but I just think if these guys are finished in top in the East. And if they don't go further than the Miami Heat, then there's the problem there somewhere.
Well, the big question, I think, is for Giannis Antetokounmpo and just how good he's probably going to be the MVP. You look at his regular season numbers, and it's just ridiculous. I can't see him not winning the league MVP. He's already, and congratulations to him, won the Defensive Player of the Year.
Yep.
So there's no question of his superstar status, and he won that Defensive Player of the Year in a bit of a landslide. He received 75 first-place votes from a panel of 100. So that's overwhelming. And so take nothing away from what he's been able to contribute. But
he needs help, Joey. He needs help. Help.
Richard Jefferson made a comment that started to make a bit of sense to me. And I don't think he's there yet. But Richard Jefferson, he is becoming the guy that you say he is the Scottie Pippen, not the Michael Jordan. Right. And what he means by that to say, well, is he good enough to be the main man? Or is he just that very significant complementary player? Now, that's hard to say from a guy who's probably going to be a two-time MVP.
Right.
But I understand what he's saying because he's not great from the free throw line. His three-point shot is a work in progress. And right now, given that they're down 0-2 against the Miami Heat, as influential as he is, you say, well, he's currently not getting it done.
But Drewy, in this league, in this society today, in today's basketball in the NBA, most superstar players have 2 or 3 other superstars with them. Yes. He does not. And he's also led Milwaukee to the best record. Is the best record in the NBA or is the best record in the East?
Best record in the NBA.
Best record in the NBA. So is it fair to say now? Yeah, I think it was. I think it was. So is it fair to say he's not the man? He can't be the man. I think he still can be the man. He just needs some help because in the playoffs, teams, you play a team 7 times, they have time to focus on what you do and what you can't do. And they send schemes at you. They double team you. They get the ball out of your hands. So that's what's happening with him right now. That's what I think.
It is a tough one, and they're going to earn it if they get there now, because this is a tough series they've got in this really strategic way in which Miami appear to go about it. I take my hat off to them. I think that they've been fantastic, and full credit to Eric Spoelstra and the coaching staff. It looks like they've got a terrific game plan. They're getting the best out of their players. And it's going to be, like I said, a real challenge.
More importantly, it's fun for us to watch. Sitting at home in Melbourne, it gives us something to do.
No doubt. And the other series too, when you think of favourites going into the finals, tougher matchup. Granted, it's a tougher matchup, but the Toronto Raptors, the defending champions, 0-2 down against the Boston Celtics, and I guess you look at it and say, well, when you lose a player like Kawhi Leonard, then it's always going to be difficult. But they were great throughout the course of the regular season. Lost a heartbreaker the other day, 99-102 in Game 2. Can you see the Raptors getting back in this series? And Jason Tatum, if it weren't for the big-time 50-point outings of some of these other players, Jason Tatum would get more recognition than he currently is, because I think had 34 in that game too, and he has been spectacular throughout the playoffs.
He's been solid the whole playoffs. He's been solid. He's been solid the whole year. I just think, I say it again, and people don't realize it. If Boston finished Toronto finished their playoff round earlier than Boston. Boston went into the second round ready to go, whereas Toronto was sitting there waiting. You get a good jump on that first game, it's hard to catch up sometimes. And both teams are talented. Both teams will do well. I just think Boston have been very lucky. They're good. They're talented. They've been very lucky to jump on those guys the way they did that first game. Now Toronto have to catch up.
And it's, I guess, further enhancing the credentials of the Celtics. They're doing it without one of their prime movers in Gordon Hayward, who did his ankle, and he's projected to come back soon, but he is not back yet. And he's averaging 20 a game. He's an unselfish guy, brings some great talent. So it's not like he's one that it's hard to bring him back into your rotation because of the nature.
Bring him back, though. If Boston go up 2-0, Boston go up 3-0, the way they're playing, do you put him back in the lineup, Drewy?
Oh, absolutely.
I'm asking you as a coach.
Oh, I do, absolutely. Because I don't think you can win the whole box and dice without him being at near his best. So you've got to get.
You don't think that disturbs? So you're up 3-0, and you bring in another starter to replace the guy who's doing whatever he's doing.
I don't think he detracts from. You look at Jason Tatum. I don't think he detracts from. You look at Jaylen Brown. I don't think he takes anything away from those guys that are putting up numbers. They've got great performances from guys like Robert Williams the other day. Had 11 or 12 points. He can take those minutes that you see from other players. And the way the game is these days, small ball, big ball, you can play those guys together and find the time to get minutes to them all. So, in fact, I think it's a huge, huge bonus to have someone like Gordon Hayward coming back into the lineup.
Drew, you know why I wouldn't bring him back right now? Because the guy in his spot, Marcus Smart, has a defensive assignment to shut down the point guard, and he's doing a fantastic job. Now, all of a sudden, you bring him back in. Not saying Hayward's not a great player. We know he's a great player. He's more offensive-minded than he is defensive-minded. He comes in and lets Kyle get going, and all of a sudden, it becomes an even series now.
Yeah.
I'll leave it alone, Drew. I'll leave it alone.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, and it sounds right in theory, but I think they can play alongside each other, and who starts and who comes off the bench. Smart was fantastic. 5 threes in the last quarter. In that, I mean, he just shot it incredibly well.
You put him down. You put him down and bring Hayward back.
But I think no, I don't think it's. I think you can play them together. I think you can play all those guys together and still get it done. And the point you raised, though, and one of the critical factors is Van Fleet and Lowry, the backcourt of the Toronto, have been solid. They haven't been bad by any stretch. They both had.
They've been bad in the playoffs. They've been bad.
Well, I don't think they've been bad. They just haven't been where they need. They haven't been exceptional.
That's right.
And I think you give a lot of credit to the Celtics in the in defense that they've been able to throw at them that has caused them some problems. But whew, and Copes, the valve of the Bucks and the Toronto Raptors is tight right now. So it's a big test for them.
Again, it's fun for us to watch, though. I'd much rather have games like this than have blowouts.
It is great fun watching, and really looking forward to all the games now. We're into the series too, so the upcoming games, check them out every day. It's hard. We're at home here in Victoria, so we get to see a lot of them. Those that are interstate may need to ask for some work at home duties so you can have the NBA games on at the same time, but it is a lot of fun. One of the other things that we've seen throughout this bubble is all the teams being able to come together and the exchanges that you have with players from other teams. And I saw an interesting tweet the other day, Copes. It was the players from the former Yugoslavia.
Yep.
So that in, Bosnia, Slovenia, Serbia, all those back in the day
Croatia
come together to form Yugoslavia. And there was a photo of all these different players from that region, and they all come together, and I thought it was fantastic because they haven't always been closest of friends from different parts of those states that we see now, that they're coming together, they feel those bonds, and
they're all playing in the NBA now. They're all playing in
the NBA, and they come together and having a dinner, and there was a photo of them, which you can see, of these guys sharing a meal together in the bubble. But it got me thinking, imagine if we took a hypothetical that was the old Yugoslavia. If you brought all these players together, Copes, what are the prospects of that particular group competing and perhaps beating the United States?
None. Zero, Joey. Don't even bring it up. Stop.
Copes, you are so wrong. This team here, as we have a look at, here's a potential.
You call their names and let me call my names, all right?
Here's a potential starting unit that you've got. And it could come down to many of these. But if you've got Luka Doncic, Bogdanovic, you've got Nikola Jokic, Dario Saric, if you wanted to go, have that role player, Jusuf Nurkic, Goran Dragic could possibly be in that starting lineup. But here's a list. You can see the list on the screen of all the different talent. And Zubac, who's come on leaps and bounds this season.
9 points and 5
with the Clippers. But, Copes, here's the thing. Let's just put it in this point. Do you think this team here with the talent could beat the Spanish teams of the past couple of Olympics?
I think they would struggle to beat Spain. I think for you to say that they can compete with the Dream Team, we're talking about Dream Team 1, right? We're talking about Jordan, Pippen, Barkley.
No. I think I'm willing to concede
Robinson.
that.
We're talking about the Dream. They went Drew. These guys.
No. Hey, let's get this right. I'm with you on that one. Back then, the Dream Team. I think if the Yugoslavia hadn't gone through their worn-torn phase and they were still the Yugoslavia, they would have presented the best challenge to that 1992 Dream Team. Let's just but I can see.
I'll tell you why.
No one's beating that team. I'm with you on that one.
I'll tell you why. Drewy, they're great players. They're magnificent. But you can't have 5 unathletic guys on the floor at the same time, bro.
Copes.
They're all nice and slow and they do their thing. Triple-double here, triple-double there. What happens with this? You got to be able to guard somebody, bro. It's not going to happen, my man. I know you love it. I know you love the foreign basketball. That's great. But I still don't think this team can beat Spain. Spain were that much better as well.
Well, I disagree. And I think that not only could this team, I think Australia, I think Spain, I think there are a number of teams out there that even when we think of the Olympics next year, and that's with United States bringing their big boys, because they have in the past. Copes, you look at the team that just came and they said, that wasn't their big boys that just didn't even make the top four.
World?
Donovan Mitchell, Jason Tatum.
Come, Joey. No one.
Smart.
They're on vacation. They sent their third best over here.
Not their third best. Not their third best. When you're looking, Coach, when you're looking at performances from this current games.
The Worlds.
And you look at the players that were in the World Championship team. Donovan Mitchell, Jason Tatum, Smart, Kemba Walker. They're all lighting it up. It wasn't their best, but it was a very good team that was not even close. Coach, they weren't close. Now you're taking this team here, this hypothetical team of the former Yugoslavia, and you're saying, they may not be as athletic, but they are system-orientated. They are pass-first team guys.
System don't work anymore, Drew. The games have changed, bro. It ain't
the teams that there were superstar teams almost got beaten by Spain. Now, they were within 4 to 6 points the last 2 gold medal games, Coach.
Come on, Drew. We see the bias. We know you love the.
I'm not being biased. I'm going on the evidence.
I'm being a little biased too because I'm from the United States. But the good thing I have on my side is we are not. You know what has beaten us, bro?
Yes, they have.
When?
Copes 2004.
Oh, come on, man.
Carmelo was there. LeBron was there. Allen Iverson was there. Larry Brown was the coach. They've got the bronze medal, my man.
All right, bro. Okay.
They 2006, they lost the World Cup.
So you think
2002, they lost the World Cup.
I hate to say this, and I probably shouldn't say it, but I'm going to say it anyway. On the other side of the world, called the United States, no one even heard of the World Cup. Man, they don't.
But just look at the rosters that they sent to those games.
They send you garbage. They send you garbage to the World Cup.
No,
they don't send the best players ever.
Back in 2002, the truth was they had a star-studded lineup. In LeBron was there in 2004. They've had.
You talking about the Olympics, or you talking about the World Cup?
Both in 2004 and 2006. Go to the look at
2006. They didn't have any big-time players in 2006. Who we got?
Coach, the 2006 World Cup roster. Let me just tell you that Carmelo Anthony in his prime. You've got Dwight Howard. You've got LeBron James. You've got Chris Paul. You've got Dwayne Wade. Are you kidding me? Coach, are you kidding me? That is a quality team that finished third, my friend. Okay? So
I give it to you their quality, but it wasn't our best. You didn't bring the best over.
Kobe probably wasn't there, but Cubs. And back
Kobe wasn't there. Say it again. Kobe
wasn't there. Shaq's not there. There are others, but gee whiz, Cubs, you've got a squad here, Cubs.
Every time we come with a squad. I'm just saying, if you talk about beating we're going to bring our best. You're not going to beat our best, Drewy. Our best, it is what it is.
Cubs, you brought your best. You brought your best in 2012 to the Olympics.
2021, we're
2016 in Rio, you had near enough to your best, mate.
Did we win?
Yeah, you did just.
Okay, then it doesn't matter how many points. I'm surprised you're saying this. It doesn't matter about how many points. Look, when we beat teams by 50, we're arrogant. When we beat teams by 1 or 2, we're not good enough.
Coach, don't even try and tell me that.
Pick a number that you want us to beat teams
Coach,
by.
don't even try and tell me.
I'll call my guys and say, listen, can you beat them by 17, please? Because when we beat them by 50, look at these arrogant guys. When we beat them by 2, they're not good enough. Pick a number, Drewy, for me. And I'll call my guys and I'll say 16.7. Can you please beat them by that many? All right, there you go.
Coach, don't even try and pull that with what happened at the Olympics. They were there up to their eyeballs having to beat Spain.
Did we win the gold medal?
Yeah, you did, but it's not like you could write your own number like you're presenting. It was a game. And all I'm saying is this team here, with this, if this was this hypothetical of the old Yugoslavia, I do not – that team's beaten Spain. They are beating Spain, and you only just beat Spain. So gee whiz, Cups, I think you.
It is what it is, and I'm right too. Did the word arrogant come up when we were beating those teams by 50 back in the day?
They were arrogant, and they completely disrespected the game. That's why they lost back in.
How do you disrespect?
That's why they lost in 2004.
So because they were winning by so much, because they showed their talent.
No, because they were that arrogant, they disrespected.
What's arrogant about it? What's arrogant?
2004, they disrespected their opponents and they weren't prepared despite having an incredible team. So, Copes, if you look at 2004, what I'm saying is you sent a very, very good team. You had Allen Iverson near his peak of his powers, maybe coming towards the end, but still in that peak of his power type range. You got Stephon Marbury, Dwayne Wade, Carmelo Anthony, LeBron James, Tim Duncan, Richard Jefferson. They are superstars that. Yeah, okay, Kobe wasn't there.
Shaq?
Shaq's not there. But Copes, Don't try. And that's because they go there, they disrespect their opponents, they don't show up prepared, and they get their asses kicked.
Now listen, we can't win. If we bring the absolute best, we're arrogant. If
you don't bring your best, you're not winning, because that's
why
your best.
We're going to bring the best from now on, and we're just not going to. We don't want to hear it. We're just going to spank you, young boy.
God.
Bang, bang, bang. Keep it moving, son. Keep it moving.
Oh, Copes, I tell you what, it's hey, if anyone's got any views on this, feel free to send them back.
Of course, they're going to crucify me because I'm on the other side of the world. Any American people, please send some. Help me out, brother. Help me out.
No, Copes, this is not American bashing.
American bashing.
No, it's not. What it is giving credit to how the international game has advanced. And looking at this,
I notice you always give credit to the international game, and there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with it.
Look at the superstars coming into the NBA right now. Luka Doncic is possibly the next.
Only. That's right. That's right. You're right. You are absolutely right. He is a flat-out superstar. Yes. But you cannot put 5 of those slow guys on the floor at the same time and expect to beat these high-flying athletic.
Geez, you're underestimating. You're underestimating the value of team ball, Coach, which has caused the United States some problems in the past. But, hey, I'm not by any way trying to be disparaging.
Yes, you are.
No, I'm not. I'm not being disparaging to the USA. What I am doing is giving credit
and you always do. Give the United States some credit. Just say we're good.
I am.
We're very good.
No, you're the best. I'm not telling you. You're the best, but I'm saying this team here.
People want to pull you down.
This hypothetical team here, Copes, that would worry the United States. Hey, now, Copes, earlier on, it's time for a bit of levity. And I have no idea, Copes, how this is happening, but for some reason, superstar comedians, entertainment personnel, they're picking up the phone and saying,
they're hearing about us.
They want to have a chat to Leonard Copeland and Andrew Gaze on this
show. I got to get on the show.
LU programs. Again, this week we've pulled another superstar. Peter Helliar is one of the
the famous Peter Helliar from Channel 10?
That's who I'm talking about, my friend. That every night on Channel 10, that from 6 o'clock you turn on the telly and Peter Helliar's bonce is there. He's an author, he's a director, he's a basketball lover.
He's a Boston Celtic fan is what he is.
He is, and here are some highlights of our interview with Peter Helliar. Hey, Coach, I don't know what's going on in the world, but the people from the Alley-Oop show, the people that put this together, they must have rocked up into some sort of Roman orgy that was going on where all the top comedians and superstars are at and just started snapping photos because last week it was Nazim Hussain. This week we go to, well, I don't want to downplay Nazim Hussain because he's a superstar, but equal superstar status.
No, we got the big boy today. We got the big boy today. Yeah.
We have got Peter Helliar somehow or other, again, but I don't know what it is, but somehow or other.
He's done something.
He's decided to join us. And Peter, fantastic to spend a few minutes with your good self, my friend.
It is my absolute honour, Mr. Gaze, Mr. Copeland. It is my 16, 17-year-old fantasies are coming true right now. So, thank you.
Hey, did you wear that hat for us? You wear that for us, or are you?
I did wear this hat because I'm wearing a Boston Celtics hat, but it's how I wear most days. I have a hoodie as well. I could have gone the whole uniform for you, but yes, looking forward to the game 2.
Well, it is, and it's an exciting series. And this whole bubble situation, you're a basketball fan clearly. Does it detract from you when you turn on and you're watching any of the hoops? They're in this bubble. Is there an asterisk next to it? What's your take on how the NBA put it together?
I think they've done an extraordinary job. The first game back in the bubble, the Celtics played the Bucks, and I watched it, and it kind of looked like they were playing in a high school gym, and it was a bit weird, but I'm going to say a pretty fancy high school gym, you know. But once the game started, I have to be honest, and I feel the same with the AFL. I just zero in on the action on the court. As much as the crowd gives a great atmosphere, and wouldn't it be great to have the crowds, particularly at the pointy end of the season. But I'm watching, can Jason Tatum make this shot? Are the players doing everything they need to do? So I'm fully watching the game. So I'm still as invested watching both the NBA and the AFL in the bubbles than I would be if there was a crowd there and we're outside.
You got 3 boys that play basketball. Where did they get their talent from, first of all? Did you play or what?
Mate, is that a bit of a backhanded?
No. He's a comedian.
Great
He's not a
man
ball
here.
player.
Right.
He's a comedian.
Gazy, it wasn't even backhanded at all. It was a full front blow to the guts. You're right. They don't get it from me. One, you're assuming they're talented, by the way.
Yes, say that.
No, so I grew up playing basketball, junior basketball, and wasn't particularly good. Wasn't the worst player on the court. My game high was 23 points. That's something I could hang my hat on.
Nice.
I also once went to the free throw line after the buzzer and sank both shots to win.
Wow,
yes.
And it was one of those at the Diamond Valley Centre. I'm sure you know the centre I'm talking about. There's like 4 or 5 courts there. And the other games had finished, so the whole crowd had kind of like the other games and the next game were kind of around. So it was like I was playing at the Telstra Stadium with the USA a few months back. It was fantastic. Made both the shots, so that gets a fair. Every time we walk into that court, I tell the kids. I love watching you guys, and that was when you guys were playing. It was the height of the NBL. It's come back strong in more recent years, but and then I fell away from basketball a little bit. I kind of checked in and out with Boston, and I kind of enjoyed the 2008 win with the Big Three, and but it's really been the last 5 or so years when the kids have really gotten into it. We just went, and I've always been a Boston supporter, but like I said, it's always just been checking in and out. But now we are the last 5 years, particularly that series where Isaiah Thomas's last year, where he played that under incredibly tough circumstances after his sister passed away. We just became Boston, like a complete Boston household. My 15-year-old loves the Bruins, so he's into the hockey as well as the Celtics. But we went to the Celtics. We went to Boston a few years ago to watch a game. We saw we saw LeBron. We took on Cleveland, and with Kyrie was there and won that game. And then we saw a game against the Timberwolves where Jimmy Butler was there as he progressed through another club, and it was amazing. We were two from zip, and we caught up with Aaron Baines on the court afterwards, and it was just extraordinary. It was such an amazing experience. But to get back to the question, my kids are, they just love basketball so much. It's really, really reignited my passion for the sport, and they're pretty good. They're certainly not going to be representing anyone. The country anytime soon, but they've given us quite a few highlights, to be honest, over their junior careers.
Well, what about a parent? And Copes and I we coach at the junior level, and one of the toughest things we have to deal with, believe it or not, is the parents. What's your advice? What's your strategy with your own kids? Because we love our kids; they take nothing away from them, and we all think that they're better than everyone else, but how do you deal with being the parent watching your kids play?
Well, this is maybe the difference between Andrew Gaze as a basketball parent than Peter Helliar as a basketball parent. I know I'm not better than I know my kids aren't better than the other kids, So I try to keep things to a conversation between the parent sitting next to me, and anything else I'll take up later on if I feel there's, like with a coach but that's very rarely happened. The kids have been really lucky with their coaches over the years, but it is tough. There have been some games where I felt like, like screaming or jumping, up and down, and there's nothing, nothing gets your blood boiling more than when you perceive some injustice on the court, a bad call from the refs. And there was one game where I had a dad next to me who was being quite loud, and I could understand his frustration. We were like, we thought we're getting the rough end of the deal, and the ref did come over to us. And my hat on, I was like, on a high. This will be on the project next week.
That's right. That's right.
Oh, dear. Hey, now speaking of the project, as far as Copes and I are concerned, you're in a team environment there with the project. And we rate you as the Jordan of the group. You are the Michael Jordan of the group, and you do this great job that we feel anyway so you deal with some pretty tough issues, but there's always a way in which to find humour. Is that a challenge when you're on that show dealing with some pretty tough issues to address?
Yeah, it's been for the first year or so I was on the show. I felt like the kid at the end of the table, and the adults were there, and I had a card table set up for me at the end. Where I just sat there and just waited to throw to a YouTube clip of a monkey throwing poo at a nana or something. And
that's it.
And more recently, I kind of decided that I can't just, there's only a few of us on the show, and you can't just let all the heavy lifting go to, Wally or Carrie or whoever else is on the show. So, there are subjects that I'm not particularly, either knowledgeable enough about to express an opinion on live television. And that's the thing I'm also conscious about. Just because I get to sit on television as a comedian doesn't mean I need to express opinions about things I don't really know enough about. So I know when to get involved, and usually it's about more social justice type issues than anything else, or the environment, or same-sex marriage, where I'm happy to kind of get involved and express an opinion. But it is, and this year's been a tricky one, because we've been in our own little bubble in a way with studio audience has been taken away. So that I used to, rely a lot on them because I'm showing clips and I'm making jokes, and it's been tough. But we've kind of learnt just to lean into each other a bit more, and they've done, carrying my lead, and the others on the show have done a great job in supporting me, because my job's probably become harder this year as a result of everything that's happened, and they've been great in their support.
My question is, because you're a comedian, do you ever practice your jokes with your kids or your family sitting there and what they go, Dad, it's not funny? Do you use that, or how does that work?
That's true.
Coach, I think you've been chatting to my kids behind my back. My oldest is 17. He's Liam, and he when he turned 15, I think it was, I said to him, and I had that age picked out. I thought, okay, when he turns 15, I'll invite him to see my Melbourne International Comedy Festival show. Performing at the Comedy Theatre, packed house, 1,000 people. All he has to do is come and sit in the audience. Have a bag of Maltesers and enjoy seeing his dad does for a living. And I said, okay, mate, I think it's time. I think the show's appropriate enough for you. There's a few things you might not like hearing, but whatever. We can chat about that afterwards. But when you come along to the show, you can bring some friends. And he just went, no, I'm okay.
It's about you, but it's funny when you're talking about it, because I do a TV show a footy show called The Bounce. It's on every Sunday night. It's on Fox Footy. Yeah, and I do, it's not to your level, but I do this segment called Turn It Up, where I just show clips, and you got to somehow make it funny. So, and you'll do a show, and I'm thinking, gee whiz, I've absolutely nailed this. This is just comedy gold. Just magnificent. And I'll come home, and the missus has done everything bar lock the door, and I come in with my chest out saying, yeah, I'm the man. And they look at me and go, if you ever dish up that shit ever again, I'm never allowed back in this house. Now it can flatten you a little bit, and you're like, hey, where's the positivity?
That was funny.
Oh.
My kids have been pretty good. They kind of, I think they kind of like what I do. I think the project's a pretty decent show to be on for the kids.
Yes.
It's not. I was on Rove Live for 10 years, and if I was still kind of getting dressed up in or cross dressing or wearing latex in front of Hollywood actors, they may be a bit embarrassed by that. But it's more of a grown up kind of job, the project. So they occasionally they've gotten to meet. My oldest met Dave Grohl and one night and before one of the concerts, and so that was pretty cool. So they're pretty good, but I think the thought of seeing me sitting in a room having to listen to for an hour, probably talking about making love to his mother, probably not what he really wanted to hear.
No, that is
fair enough.
Oh, jeez.
How are you handling this lockdown? Because it's driving me crazy. How are you handling it?
I'm pretty lucky, Copes. I get to go to work for 4 days a week, so I do get to go out. So I'm not as maybe heavily as locked down as some others, and I'm very fortunate. We've tried to make it as fun as we can. My wife and I have been doing these pub crawls around the house where we set up rooms and different pubs, and we actually released a travel book a few weeks ago. That's how ambitious I am. I've released a travel book during a global pandemic.
Yeah, we were going to ask you about that.
Yeah. Tripping with kids, isn't it? Is that what it's called? Yeah,
tripping with kids. So we worked very hard on it last year, not knowing there was a coronavirus on the way, and but luckily there's a lot to explore in our own country, and hopefully there'll be a bit of a bubble that opens up in New Zealand. And
releasing it's sort of like the guy that just bought the taxi license a week before Uber came out. And you go, oh shit, the timing just not quite there. But
you know what I did when that happened, Gazy? I still bought taxis for quite a period of
that's true.
Was everybody?
Yeah, that's true. Hey, just on the book, because you are an author as well, and you're so versatile in what you do. But what's your first love? Like is stand up? We've spoken to a couple of comedians, and of course we had Nazim on last week. And besides all the other stuff they do, they feel like it's something in their DNA that stand up makes them work. Is it the same for you? Are you in that genre?
Yeah, I think once you've done stand up for long enough, and you just it's what I identify as. If somebody asks what I do, I'm a stand up comic, and it's also it's the most true test of where you're at as a comedian. Like you can be on radio and you can just fool yourself into thinking that everybody's loving everything you're doing and they're laughing at every joke but there's no fooling yourself on stage. It is a true test of what we do as a living to stand on a stage with a microphone. I'm not a prop comic, so I have nothing else but a microphone on stage and an hour full of thoughts that I've written myself, and there's been no meetings. I'm not running I run it by my wife, what you mentioned earlier, Coach. Yeah, I don't run my material past my kids, but I run it by my wife a lot, and she's a great bouncing board. So that's why whenever the trolls come for you and they'll say this bloke's not funny, you're going to go, well, it's kind of like I had a troll recently, and I usually don't respond to them.
No.
And he just said, you're not funny and this and that. And I said, let me tell you a story. I said, there's this guy who decided he had a dream that he wanted to make shoes. So he didn't have any family. There was no family business connections. He just on his own decided he wanted to make shoes. So he started drawing shoes and designing shoes, and then he kind of made his first shoe, and then he opened a shop, and then he opened the second shop because the shoes were selling like hotcakes, and he designed other kinds of shoes. And then people around the world started wearing his shoes, and he started doing ads, and he won some awards. He got nominated for some awards. He lost some awards, but he won some awards. And he made a lot of money making these shoes. And then one day, this bloke out of nowhere just runs into his shop and says, "You're shit at making shoes." And I thought, which one do you reckon's you, and which one do you reckon's me?
That is a very good analogy that you present when you're in that caper. But as you say, it's so lonely when you're up on stage and you're there and you've got the whole audience at you. And I'm not a comedian, but I do some motivational stuff, and Copes does as well. But there are always those times where, for some reason, you feel like you're delivering the same stuff that you've done over and over, but you don't get the reaction. Now, is it the singer or is it the song? Is it the audience or is it you that just sometimes the audience is not quite with you on the journey?
In other words, have you bombed? Have you bombed? And what did you do when you bombed?
Of course, I've bombed. I mean, it's become, like in recent, like I've been doing it nearly 25 years next year. So I haven't bombed for a while. I bombed once. The most recent bombing was a weird one because it was the night before Collingwood, who I'm a passionate supporter of, were playing Richmond in the preliminary final in 2018. We famously won that game, but the night before, I was asked to go and do a function at the past players, So
Yeah.
I just said yes. Renee Kink, famous Collingwood president, asked me to do it. I said, of course, I'm going to do it. And, didn't put a whole lot of thought into it because I do this thing a fair bit. 20 minutes of, whatever. And I get up there on stage, and it's just like I'm looking at a sea full of like faces that are heroes of mine and legends, and they're probably, most of the players are like 55 and over. Like there's a lot of grey hair. There's not many women in the room, and I start doing a gig, and they gave me a lovely, applause. They know I'm a Collingwood supporter, and it was one of the worst gigs I've ever done.
No.
It was. They just did not respond to anything that I said. It was. So then I was just starting. You kind of spend the first few minutes going, okay, this is weird. How am I dealing with this? How can I change gears? And then I just kind of felt myself get almost a bit angry on stage, going, I'm doing this for free. This is my internal monologue. And they gave me a kind splatter of applause on as I finished.
Oh no!
I did half the time I was going to do, and I left. And the table I was sitting at, we had some of the younger blokes, Benny Johnson, Dane Swan, and I just said, I went to the table, got my car keys, and just went, I hope we lose tomorrow night.
Oh no! Oh dear! Well, there's Peter Helliar. That's only a snippet of it. He's a very funny man, and if you are interested in seeing the entire interview with Peter Helliar, a link below on the YouTube channel. Click it on and check him out. And
how funny was it? He had me rubbing my eyes, man. I had tears in my eyes.
It is.
It's funny.
No, and there's plenty more of that to see, so we encourage everyone to have a look at that. Hey, Copes, let's just turn our attention to the NBL and a bit going on. We read their reports throughout the course of this week that the NBL have put on the table that they are leaning towards pushing back the start of the season. Now, this is not new. It's always been on the cards, but they have been a little bit more vocal in saying that, no, we believe that we've got to provide the best opportunity for their owners to make it financially viable. And they're talking about later January, early February, if they can't get the season started in December. That, to me, seems like a smart move.
Well, it is because owners don't make money, or owners don't make money unless people are sitting in the stands, and you want to do the right thing by these guys. So they're putting their hands in their pockets and they're paying for these salaries and they're paying for these big stadiums or whatever. So you got to give them a chance to break even, per se. Yep. And also, the Melbourne United had that COVID scare, so they've been out for a month. You got to give those guys time to prepare and get themselves back in. I got a question for you, though. What's going to happen with the imports? How are they going to be able to come in? Or you talked to Jeff. What's happening with that kind of stuff?
Well, it's a really good point, and I've been talking to Jeff Van Groningen, who's a friend of the show and a very close friend of ours, and they are putting things in place right now, and they can get here. They just got to go through the quarantine protocols. So I think that they will get here eventually, but you need to make decisions immediately. Like, you look at some of the teams, they're already locked in. You look at the Perth Wildcats, the Illawarra Hawks. They've made their commitments on who their players are going to be, their import players are going to be. So you can start that process real early, because it might take what normally might take a week is going to take months.
There's not a lot of flights. There's not a lot of flights. There's not a lot of seats in those flights. So you got to spend some time and some extra money getting those guys out of here.
And the other thing that I thought was when you think of the different proposals that might work if you have to have the league playing where you can't play in places like Victoria or New South Wales. One of the suggestions that was put forward in a conversation I had, well, maybe it's double headers. So if you take these teams, so the Sydney teams and the Melbourne teams, and they go play in these other states, then rather than playing Melbourne United versus the Sydney Kings in Perth, that as a standalone, that you play it as the curtain, a double-header game. So they're on the same ticket. So you might be able to charge a little bit more. People can get 2 games for the price of 1. And something like that could be a way in which a hub-type situation might be able to work, but it's still going to be a massive financial burden on the league in order to get that done. So
Larry and Jeremy are sitting around trying to figure it out, and those guys are so good. They'll work it out. They will
work it out. There'll be something, and we
wish them all the best. We wish them all the best,
because it's not an easy thing to do. And what would help is if Victoria can get their act together and come out of this lockdown sooner rather than later. And we're not. Hey, we're all in favour. I'm all in favour of lockdown. I'm not anti-lockdown at all. I say until you've got this COVID under control. Selfishly, there's no greater interest than self-interest, and for the sake of the love I have for my mum and my dad, and there's an incredible hardship being had by all. But hey, if we can get through this sooner rather than later and get people back to games, that would be ideal.
Absolutely.
The other thing, Copes, is we saw another Next Stars guy being signed. Now, you know more about him. I'm talking about Justin Jessup, who signed with the Illawarra Hawks.
He's out of Boise State, Julie. He's out of Boise State. Averaged 16 points a game. He shot 40% from the 3-point line. Now, apparently he's a sharpshooter, about 6'7", athletic. I tell you what, though, the Hawks are putting together a roster with Gorgon that you got to be afraid. These teams, I'm telling you now, you better be aware of the Hawks because they are putting together a roster.
Well, if you want to find a reason why Brian Gorgon has been into 19 consecutive playoff series with a number of different teams, you're seeing it right now in the roster that he's been able to put together with the Illawarra Hawks. This is shaping up to be an exciting, athletic, really well accomplished and balanced roster.
And we know they're going to play defense because Gorgon is built on defense.
And he's got that nice blend. You know he loves those young guys. And you think of Emmett Nair, and I know he's 25 or in that age bracket, but that's still, in our terms, still very young. You've got that Isaac White kid that from shoot the ball, who played at Stanford. Daniel Greeter still got a lot of growing to do. Dean Adele,
who I think is going to be the most exciting player in the league.
Cam Bairstow to help. Guy who played 2 years in the NBA.
Ding Ding, who rebounds better than anybody you've ever seen.
And the imports, Tyler Harvey and Justin Simon. They've got that kid, the athletic, bouncy Max Darling. Whew, Copes, this is an impressive work that the Illawarra Hawks have, the Hawks, sorry about that, have been able to put together. So we say well done to them. The other good signing that's happened this week, a friend of ours, and we declare our hand, the Sydney Kings have re-signed Daniel Kickett.
I think it's a good signing.
Well, that's the word anyway. I don't know if it's official.
No, he's re-signed today. I think that's a great signing because although he's a little bit older, people you cannot underestimate Kickett, who's led the league in 3-point percentage for a long time. He hits the ball well, and he's big, he's smart, he loves the game, but he's a nice guy off the court as well. We spent a lot of time with him.
Yeah, he's great. He was our travelling partner to and from the airport, and he can still shoot the ball. And that is a commodity that you value.
They picked up Ware. They re-signed Ware as well, no?
Casper Ware, who we spoke about last week. So they're going to be tough again, and they've got another import spot available to them. So
is Bogut coming back? I asked you that question.
Is Bogut coming back, and is Tate coming back?
Yeah, that's right. That's the question I'm asking.
Sean Tate, I thought he was fantastic last season. And we're unsure at this stage. But if they bring back primarily the same crew as they had last season, they're going to be thereabouts again. I know they're a year older for some of these guys, and no Kevin Lish, but they really didn't have Kevin for a lot of the season last year. He was there for the playoffs. Copes. It's time to wrap it up. Before we go, just a little one I heard. I don't know if you heard the Milwaukee Bucks' George Hill when he was at the game asked about why he left the venue during the national anthem. And this is what he had to say.
There's a specific reason you weren't out in the arena during the national anthem.
You want the honest truth?
Yep.
Okay, I take a shit every time before the game. I've been doing it for the last 4 years. If you go back and watch any footage of our previous games before we come down here to this bubble, that's what I do before every game. And, you know, so happy that you guys were snoozing in the hallways and called me coming back from my pregame ritual, and that's what I always do. That's the honest truth.
Yeah, Copes, I can relate to that because you know me. I was one that had to go use the facilities before we ran out in order to make sure the body was cleansed and you didn't have any issues during the game. But it brings about rituals, pre-game rituals.
Yep.
And I probably, my timing was a little bit different to George Hill. I did it well in advance, but it's still something you had to do. Pre-game rituals, did you have anything of note or aware of anyone that...
I had to put on my left shoe first before every game, make sure it was tied, and then I put on my right shoe. So it was something I did every game. No, I did it every game. If I didn't do it, I thought I played bad. So. And
any other teammates? I know when a quick story, when I was with the San Antonio Spurs and I arrived at practice and it was during a lockout period, so we didn't have any time to get together as a group before official practice start. So the very first day of practice, the first day I got to meet all the teams, the players in the team. And I remember rolling up and they're bright and early, getting my work in, trying to introduce to all the players, this, that, and the other. And I was taking some shots and the great Tim Duncan, who was there, he walked out, coming out in practice, and I looked down and his shorts were on back to front. And I thought, oh, jeez, the big fella.
Do you say something? Or do you...
the big fella's got the shorts on the wrong way. And I'm thinking, do I say something? I've never met the man. I know he's the next superstar, a lot being said. And I thought, well, I've been around. Surely it's the right thing to go up and just give him a tap and say, okay, Tim, Andrew Gaze, how you going? And I said, hey, Tim, mate, your shorts are on back to front. And he looked at me, and said, yep, I know. And then just walked off. And I thought...
I probably said, you smart ass. He probably said that.
No, well, clearly I think he knew, but it was like, yep. And I'm thinking, why wouldn't you go and change it, mate? What's going on? And I felt a bit awkward. I had a bit of the orcs going on. And someone else came out, one of the players that played with him last year, Antonio Daniels, I met him. I said, Antonio, what's up with Tim? He's got his shorts back. He goes, yeah, man, that's what he does. At practice every single day, that's how he rolls with his shorts on back to front. So that was his little ritual. I don't know if he continued to do it, but he did it that entire season.
How many titles did he win? 4 or 5?
5, just the 5.
It worked, so leave him alone. There you go.
So rituals, but yeah, I don't know whether George Hill was just using that because he was very outspoken in the Black Lives Matter, and whether it was a statement or whether he was just actually needing to use the facilities and take care of some business. But
I think we're all smart enough to know it probably had something to do with the whole protest thing. But you know, if he had to use the bathroom, man, he had to use the bathroom.
You got to go. Don't you?
There you go.
Hey, Copes, again, a delight to spend some time with you, and thanks to Peter Helliar once again.
Funny man.
For all the work that he's been doing. And
where do we find this show, Drewy? Where do we find this show?
Coach, we find this show, the Alley-Oop Show, and you can help me out here, my friend.
YouTube.
That's it.
Spotify, Apple Podcast.
Or you can go to No Filter Media.
No Filter Media. No Filter.media.
And they are the bosses. They are the ones that put this wonderful production together and provide us with this opportunity. The other one that I want to quickly mention, we caught up with Lee Ellis during the week.
Yes.
We caught up with him, and he's a guy that's worked for NBA for 6 years, had the TV program The Starters.
The basketball head.
And he's got a weekly podcast, No Dunks. The ultimate basketball head that grew up in Sunbury, Australia, Sunbury in Melbourne, went on this journey and became very much entrenched in NBA media. we caught up with him, and in the links below, you can also click on with him and see our interview with him, because he's had some tremendous experiences getting shots up with some of the great shooters, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, a whole bunch of players that he's got to spend some time with, and he's got some great stories to tell. So check out that link as well. Hey, Copes, that's all from us this week. You've been fantastic yet again, and we look forward to having another chat in this very exciting second round of the NBA series. It's a treat, and seeing how these series unfold.
It is worth getting out of the bed for, Drewy. I can tell you that much.
It certainly is, particularly if you live in Victoria, where there's not else.
That's the only thing to do. There you go.
You're stuck at home. Until next week, we thank you for your company, and we say.
This has been a No Filter Media production.
Say what you want.